Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Really nice meeting you, Andrea, and hi, Kathy. I'm Aaron Staubel, and with Behavior Advantage. And what we're going to be going over today is, well, first of all, for those of you who don't know Behavior Advantage, we provide a software platform and online clinical supports with the BCBA to help build capacity in school districts and other LEAs to build, design, and implement positive behavior interventions. And so with that being said, what we're going to go over today is how one component of Behavior Advantage is being able to design, implement, and progress monitor check-in, check-out interventions. So before we get into that, just a little bit about myself. I have over 20 years of experience working with schools and families to design positive behavior supports. I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I've worked with the University of California, Davis Mind Institute, which is a multidisciplinary research facility in Sacramento. And I worked on the National Professional Development Center on Autism and the Center on Secondary Education for Students with Autism, both nationally funded grants, as my time there at the Mind Institute. I've also worked on a project through the University of Wyoming to deliver echo-based professional development and behavior support to rural communities. This is really interesting because this was telehealth before COVID, and now it's just Zoom, basically. And that's understating it tremendously. But, Echo was the very, new wave type of thing over the last, 6 or 7 years. And then COVID hit. Now everyone knows how to Zoom, which is great. So anyway, all of that experience has been poured into Behavior Advantage. So what I want to talk about here today is check-in, check-out as an intervention, which I think I promote this intervention a lot. I have implemented this intervention at the tier 2 and the tier 3 levels with, hundreds of kids. I think it is one of the most misunderstood interventions, underutilized, and it's not often implemented with fidelity. And so as part of Behavior Advantage next week, we are offering all of our customers a 2-hour online PD on how to do check-in, check-out, because I see a lot of schools doing check-in, check-out, but I don't see them doing it correctly or to the full extent that they could to find it to be as efficient and as effective as it can be. So what I want to start off with here is just what do good behavior interventions like check-in, check-out do, and how do they work? So the first thing is that we always want to consider context and function when we identify or design a positive behavior intervention for a student or a small group of students. When we do that, we want to take that information and we want to match it to select evidence-based practices that we can then implement with fidelity and progress monitor to see if our efforts are effective in changing behavior. These are the foundations on which all good behavior interventions should be founded. When we do this effectively, if it changes student behavior or when it changes student behavior, it does it like this. It provides a roadmap. So check-in, check-out is a good example of this. It provides a roadmap for often the adults in the environment to design experiences for students that promote opportunities for those students to practice valuable skills like kindness, social responsibility, independence, work ethic, academic skills. The list goes on and on. When we're effective in promoting those practice opportunities and the student actually practices these behaviors, it then gives us an opportunity to provide a feedback loop in the form of acknowledgement and reinforcement, basically telling the kid that was exactly what we want you to do. You did it perfectly, good job. And the Holy Grail when it comes to behavior change is that when this all comes together and we're effective in doing this a couple thousand times, that is how we create long-lasting positive behavioral habits. And this isn't just kids, this is all of us on here. Whenever we want to try to change our own behaviors, this is how it works. So I want us to consider all of this when we think about check-in, check-out, because how we design the intervention and how we implement the intervention and how we guide our colleagues to implement these interventions day after day must be based on this if we want it to be effective. So why does check-in, check-out work? First of all, it has a really strong relationship component that is often missed. It starts the day or the interaction with the student off with a real positive connection. The intervention itself provides structure and those opportunities to practice positive behaviors that we talked about. It literally guides adults to interact with students to set them up for success and then provide this feedback loop and reflect on student success. It embeds it can embed self-monitoring, self-management, and goal-setting components to make it even more effective, especially at the middle and high school levels. And it incorporates student motivation to change. So all of this comes together in an intervention that I think sometimes at this point we just talk about, oh, check-in, check-out, or oh, a point sheet. But I'm really working hard through Behavior Advantage, through the platform and professional development to help people understand how dynamic this intervention can be and should be in order to change behavior. So here's a very short video from Edutopia on the intervention of check-in, check-out. And I want us to just watch this to kind of get a feel of when this works, this is the level of enthusiasm and structure that it takes for check-in, check-out to be effective.
That's another check-in and check-out of somebody who had the perfect day, so we put it on the wall of fame. You gonna be the next one?
Because we do check-in and check-out, students feel supported through a positive relationship every single day, which builds their capacity to be successful students.
I know you can do it. Okay.
Fall Hamilton, we've really put a lot of effort in building positive relationships.
Hi. How was your day?
Good.
One strategy we utilize is our check-in and check-out system, where adults are meeting with kids every single day, and it's not their classroom teacher. We have 41 students on check-in and check-out here.
You're gonna do great, aren't you?
We identify the students that just need a little bit more support, where they're struggling meeting some of their requirements on an educational level, but more of a social and emotional level as well.
You did? I'm so proud of you.
The child knows every day they come in this building that somebody's excited to see them in the morning and excited to see them right before they leave.
Hey, Mariah.
Hi.
You ready to have another great day today?
Yep.
My check-in, check-out buddy, her name is Mariah, and she's in 4th grade. She has 3 goals every day that she works on. What are your goals for today?
Listen, be on task, and nice.
Awesome. She can get 0, 1, or 2 points for each of her goals.
The goal sheet is based off the student's needs, and it is agreed upon by the classroom teacher and the student. So whatever they're struggling with is what the goal is set around. Then every increment of the day, at the end of their literacy block, at the end of their mathematics block, at the end of recess, they're just getting feedback.
How about being nice? I think you're nice to go around you. Good job. I agree. You're doing a great job.
Whoever the teacher is will give her points throughout the day. If she had a bad day, I try to just let her know that she still has the capability to do great tomorrow. But today was a really great day. You had a perfect day? She got a perfect score on her goals for the day.
What I like about check-in and check-out, that you get prizes and you get to see what you did good and what you did wrong, and you can do better next time.
We try to pick things that the kids like, school supplies, or non-tangible things like a positive phone call home to the parent congratulating them. It is a great day for Mariah, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about the points. The relationship and accountability is really the important part.
How was your day?
Good. Actually, it was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Mr. Portel, he's our principal and my mentor. You go to him and then he asks about your day, and if you had a problem somewhere, we'll talk about that and see how you can fix it.
We've seen kids transforming their own opinions of themselves. Peyton, man, he had a rough year last year. Just to see his growth on a foundational level of being able to be in a class all day without incident and being able to start growing on his academics.
So do you think you've knocked it out of the park? That's what I'm talking about.
That's been a huge success.
You did it with me.
That's right. No, but you did it on your own. That's you, my man. Nice work.
So I hope that what we can see in this video is how powerful this intervention can be when it's implemented in a dynamic fashion. And one of the problems with check-in, check-out when it's implemented without this level of thoughtfulness based on context, function, and relationship building is it can become weaponized, where we will build an intervention and we will follow kids around with point sheets or clipboards, and we're just waiting for them to make mistakes. And that is when we often find this intervention not to be effective, and some really good training on the pitfalls associated with using check-in, check-out inappropriately is really important. So just to kind of review what was mentioned in the video, that the essential components are checking in with the student, connecting with an adult positively, reviewing the tracker sheet, discussing goals and strategies, and then really they use the term mentor in the video. I think that's a great way of thinking about managing check-in, check-out, or a coach. And just thinking about high rates of positive encouragement, reinforcement, giving a kid tips before walking into challenging situations, that kind of a thing. Then we have the scoring piece, where a group of adults, it could be a classroom teacher, it could be all of the students, high school teachers or middle school teachers, are scoring and providing feedback with the student. And that's a big training piece. If we're pushing our scores on the kid, that's where things get weaponized and the positive intervention becomes a negative intervention. But if we really promote self-monitoring, self-management systems, then we have kids looking at themselves, reflecting on their own behaviors, and that's a much more powerful way of running the intervention. It also allows us to give, stay in that coaching role and provide feedback moving forward. Then we check out with the kid at the end of the day, and this again is a good opportunity to review whether or not we met our goals, accuracy of self-monitoring, troubleshooting, and how we can manage ourselves moving forward. And then another nice piece that can be added on to check-in, check-out interventions is home support. So through Behavior Advantage, we have the opportunity with a click of a button to send the point sheet, email the point sheet to a caregiver or a family member immediately once it's been scored, so that family member can look at, how did my kid do today? And then we can provide coaching to the family so that they can understand, how do I associate home-based consequences, both positive and negative, based on my kid's performance at school. The other nice thing about this is what they're getting is not a book. We're not asking teachers to write a journal that's subjective, that doesn't give a lot of really objective information or data about the kid's day. It can also be kind of dangerous, legally, to be writing long paragraphs around how the kid did that day. So if we just said, here's a number, this is where your kid did well, this is where your kid could have done better, parents can use that to really coordinate and manage home-based incentive systems. So let's look at a case study here. So let's say that we have a kid, Kendall, that's referred to us. Let's say that we're the MTSS team for the school, for Summit Middle School, and Kendall's name comes across our desk. She's an 11-year-old sixth grader. She loves art, animals, and telling jokes to the class. Kendall has struggled academically this year to consistently follow directions and complete assignments on time. She frequently socializes with peers and disrupts others during work tasks. Kendall was referred to Summit Middle's MTSS PLC team for Tier 2 interventions, that's us. And upon review, we all decided and recommended check-in, check-out. It's an established evidence-based practice here in our school. We're familiar with it, and we think it would be a good match for Kendall. So we, along with Kendall's input, have identified 3 target behaviors on which to focus the check-in, check-out intervention. We want her to get better at following directions, first or second time asked, completing her work independently, and managing her social interactions with peers during work tasks. So at this point, we might pull up Behavior Advantage and say, well, let's build a check-in, check-out intervention for Kendall. So I will now share a different screen here. There we go. So now we will be in Behavior Advantage. Everyone see that? Okay, so this is Behavior Advantage, and again, there's a lot going on here that we've looked at in other AESA trainings, but today we're really focusing on check-in, check-out. So here I might say, all right, well, do we have in our tracker resource here, do we have anything already created for Summit? And we'd say, well, yeah, we have a Summit PBIS check-in, check-out for be safe, be respectful, be responsible, but we want to customize this for Kendall. So we have a whole library here of check-in, check-out interventions, and we might take one of those, clone them, or create one from scratch. It literally can take 3 to 5 minutes to create a customized check-in, check-out point sheet, tracker sheet for Kendall. And then we can load that into her file. And here it is, the Summit PBIS check-in, check-out intervention for Kendall that we customized. So we said, all right, we're gonna work on following directions, work completion, and social skills. We're gonna stick with a 0, 1, 2 scoring Likert scale. We can go all the way up to 5, but we're gonna keep it simple here. And then we worked as a team to just define this. So what would following directions and earning a 2 look like? And we all decided that Kendall following directions the first time asked would earn her a 2. If she needed more than 2 reminders, she would get a 1. And if she did not follow directions at all, she would earn a 0. Same thing with work completion. You know, did she finish all of her work by the end of the period? Did she need multiple reminders? Did she not do her work? And then social skills. Did she respect her peers during tasks and allow them to stay focused? Did she need multiple reminders, or was she disruptive? We're going to score her across every period of the day, 1 through 6. All of this can be edited easily and customized.
Aaron, is this by class period then too?
In this case it is, but we could say, you could create one that just does an AM score and a PM score, or, you know, one of the things that's so dynamic about check-in, check-out, and I find as a behaviorist, it's so misunderstood, is that the reason this is an evidence-based practice before it was called check-in, check-out is because it's rooted in the science of self-management, self-monitoring, and goal setting, which is why diet programs, exercise programs, speech pathologists, physical therapists, I mean, this has been effective in behavior change for decades. One of the things that you're honing in on, Kathy, is, well, how often are we going to check in and check out with the kid? That really depends on intensity. So we have residential facilities that are using Behavior Advantage, and they're checking in and checking out with kids every 30 minutes because they can spiral into crisis at the drop of a hat. So that's one thing here that we can really edit and customize, is how often are we going to do this with the kid? Does that make sense? Yep. So you can do whatever you want. We have people we have kids who are on a check-in, check-out program for a single behavior, and we have ED programs that are running 7 different, like a Boys Town model, and they're running like 7 different behaviors on a check-in, check-out system. So it just depends on the resources and how intense. The other nice thing about Behavior Advantage here is that you can add bonus points if you want for something that's not directly addressed in your rubric. And you can also track target behaviors. So you have progress monitoring on other more severe behaviors or replacement behaviors that maybe you wrote a goal against, or an IEP goal, or something that you want to help guide placement decisions. So while the check-in, check-out system is being implemented, we might want to keep a real close eye on aggression and property destruction and other unsafe behaviors, because if those don't go down rapidly, we might be having a different conversation. And we can do all of that one-stop shop here in Behavior Advantage.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's, a very quick view of how easy it is to kind of customize and build these. And the nice thing is your organization starts building a library. And so you can say, hey, here's my intense, ED behavior tracker. Here's my tier 2 tracker. Here's my one for an attention seeking kid who's having problems on the recess playground. And your organization can start cloning and not having to start from scratch every single time. Okay, so let's say then that we've created this for Kendall, and we all say, all right, this is, what we want to be looking at. Let me go back to, let me go back to this. And let's say that we've created that for Kendall, and now it's time to implement the intervention. So we now have a point sheet. We've discussed it with Kendall. We have a check-in, check-out mentor or coach, and this is what it's going to look like every day for Kendall with the check-in, check-out intervention implemented with Fidelity. Well, everyone can see this. Is that all right? I'm not going to go to the. Okay. Actually, new share. Here we go. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Mrs. Tasha. Here's my check-in.
Good morning. How was your night last night?
Good.
Good. Did you get some of your homework done?
Yeah.
Have a seat. Looks like you have a parent's signature, so that's good. I'll put that in your file. But you said your homework is done?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So let's take a look here. Looks like you need 54 points for today. How many points are you hoping you can get?
54.
And what are you going to do to get those 54 points?
I'm going to be family proud
Mm-hmm.
and be safe, respectful, and responsible.
Perfect. Sounds like you have a big goal for today. In addition to being Sound Like Proud, I would really like you to focus on getting that homework done in your study hall today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd also like you to do what the teachers are asking you to do.
Okay.
All right, so, and also a goal I have for you today is to tell 2 friends something nice.
Okay.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you after school.
Yep. Can you tell me any scores for being safe, respectful, and responsible?
Oh, let me have a look here today. Did you finish your composition for recorder?
I did most of it, but
Most
I
of
didn't finish.
But we had plenty of time, so I think I'm gonna have to give you a 1 for being responsible. How about being respectful? When I asked you to put the pencils and everything away, were you able to do that?
Yes.
Oh, great, great. Then you get a 2. Thank you. Good job, Kendall. Keep up the good work on being respectful. Let's make sure we get our work done. Class, it's time to go to specials. Please put your things underneath your pencil boxes and show me that you're ready to go.
Can you please check out my
Oh, hi, Kendall.
for being safe, respectful, and
Sure.
responsible?
So we were working here and trying to figure out if you were safe, respectful, and responsible. How about safe today? Were you safe?
Yes.
You were safe, so you'd get a 2 for being safe. Great job. How about being respectful?
Yes.
What were you doing that was being respectful today?
I was keeping my hands, feet, and body to myself.
Oh, that's very respectful. So we would circle a 2 for you. How about being responsible today?
I remembered to do my homework.
Remember to do it. Did you remember to bring it back?
Yes.
You did remember to bring it back? That's awesome. So you were being responsible there. That would be a 2. So 6 points there. You got all the points. Great job, Kendall. Proud of you.
Hi, Mrs. Tasher. I reached my goal.
Wow, nice work. Looks like you had a great day. Thanks for being on time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, reading, got all your points. Writing, I noticed a 1 on responsibility. What happened?
I think I just lost a little bit of my concentration.
Okay, so in order to change that for tomorrow, you'll be able to focus. Okay, good. Math looks great. Lunch, recess, study hall. Did you get some of your homework done? Yep. Awesome. All right. Specials looks good. Daily score was a 53 out of 54. So you got your goal just about, just missed one. We'll work on that for tomorrow. Make sure you get a parent signature tonight. We'll bring it back in the morning.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so one of the things that this video I think points out, we can nitpick, and it's a great discussion in a professional development workshop, is what seemed to work here, what would we do differently? One thing I think it highlights for general ed teachers is how easy this intervention can be to manage so that they don't feel overwhelmed with a big strategy. You know, they can see, oh, I just have to have a pleasant conversation with this student, 30 seconds, max a minute at the end of a class period. That's all you're asking me to do. And so it's a nice, this intervention does not have to be a heavy workload. It's more about the consistency and changing behaviors in small increments over time. So at the end of the day, if Kendall, and if I'm her mentor and I have this point sheet that's been filled out and she's gotten most of her points today, a teacher wrote, nice job today, Kendall, or maybe I wrote that, and here's the Behavior Advantage point sheet that we created, then I just need to go into Behavior Advantage and enter these scores. Now, why would I do that? One of the greatest advantages of check-in, check-out is that if you take the 15 seconds it requires to enter the data that the student earned on the intervention, it's one of those magic interventions where the intervention itself provides the data to progress monitor the student over time. There's not a whole lot of interventions that do that. So if we look then at what this would look like using Behavior Advantage, let me just toggle back to this. We might say, all right, I've got her point sheet right here. And I could have I could have 7 point sheets right here, 7 tier 2 point sheets, or my whole ED class, whichever group I'm working with. But if I just say, all right, where's Kendall? And I just want to find her here. Let me move my window around. There's Kendall. I'm going to go to student actions. I'm just going to enter some tracker data. So with one click, I'm here, and it was for today. So create a new point sheet, and or let's do this because I actually entered that today. Let's say that it's for the 16th and I want to create a new point sheet for last Friday, and I can say max points. She pretty much got all of her points except for here on period 1, and here she got a 1, and here she got a 1, and I see one more right there. And I can type in the teacher's notes here. Nice job today, Kendall, exclamation point. And now I can save this. And I have now just entered her data, and I don't know however long that took, 15 seconds. And I have updated her graph. I've stored all this raw data down here for my records. And if I want to email this to mom and dad or the parents or the caregivers, I can click email point sheet, and this right here will go directly to the caregivers, and they can use that as far as how did their student or their child do at school today. From here, I can click on Kendall's graph tab, and I can see a populated graph with each domain in her point sheet, graphed over time with total percentage points here in the bar graph. And I can use this to progress monitor Kendall over time. So what we see here is that overall, it was a rocky start, but over the last 2 months, she's made a lot of progress. And so we can now sit down and look at this data weekly or once a month and really determine, is this intervention working for Kendall? Yes or no? Should we continue? Should we modify? And then I can also adjust this. If I wrote, let's say that I wrote an IEP goal against compliance, I can delete work completion and social skills and show up to the IEP with this graph and just show everybody, this is how Kendall's doing on her compliance IEP goal. or I can add them and all back in. If I had target behaviors, I would have a separate graph for target behaviors like unsafe behaviors or replacement behaviors, self-regulation. There's a lot you can do here. Any questions on this piece? Kathy, do you have any questions on this part of the program? Okay. So then if I go back to our PowerPoint, let me share this piece. I have to figure out if I can eliminate some clicks here. Okay, so there's our graph. And again, one of our priority goals with all of our customers in Behavior Advantage is to help build capacity with organizations so that they are making data-based decisions as part of their daily practice. The best way to do that is to have data that is easy to understand, easy to look at, and that's often graphed information. When we have a graph, there's a lot we can do with this. Of course, the adults can look at it and determine the effectiveness of the intervention. But the other thing that we can do with graphs is we can use them with the students themselves to set goals. So what would it look like, Kendall? Everything's going up except for your social skill goal here. So what would it look like if that improved over the next week? And she might look at this and say, well, I don't know, I'm at the, about the 30% mark on average with my social skill goal. I guess if I could get that over 50%, 3 out of 5 days next week, that would be an accomplishment. And I can guide her along that as her coach, as her mentor. And then we can use this graph to kind of, make it a fun game. But that's a good intrinsic motivation. Let's try to reach that goal over time. So again, if we have graphed data, it just really helps people use that information to make huge decisions around intervention management. And I've been doing this a lot this year with our Behavior Advantage users that I consult with online. We say the first thing we do is bring up the graph, and we bring up the graph and we talk about it. Well, how do we think the student is doing with their check-in, check-out intervention? I did this in October with a case, and the graph was all over the map. But when I asked the team, do you see a trend? They all said, no, I don't see a trend. And I said, great. I mean, that's not good news, but the good news is we can see that this intervention is not working the way we would want it to work. What would it look like if the student was improving? And they all looked at the graph and said, we would see many more data points above the 80% mark. I said, great, that's what we're shooting for. So then we got to do an autopsy on the check-in, check-out intervention, and we found that the motivation that was established and the goals that were set 2 months ago had never been reached or actualized, meaning the student had never been reinforced for meeting their goals. So we probably set the bar too high. We renegotiated that with the student, and we looked at the graph 2 months after that, and we saw a tremendous increase in performance. So again, it wasn't about eliminating the check-in, check-out intervention. It was about adjusting so that we could help the kid meet their goals a little more frequently. So a couple tips on managing check-in, check-out interventions, and this is what we deliver through professional development and online clinical supports, is we help people understand that, we really need to take advantage of building positive relationships for these interventions to be effective. And we do that through positive feedback and rewarding and acknowledging good behaviors, helping kids meet their goals, sharing graphs with students to set those goals and to promote self-monitoring, actively managing reinforcement systems, as I just mentioned in that case study. And then, some other things to keep in mind is we can reward kids for meeting their behavior goals. We can initially sometimes just reward kids for being honest. They might get all zeros, but if that's what they mark for themselves, that is the first step in a self-management intervention, is can I accurately self-monitor? We can exchange the points for intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. We can link with a home-based reward system. There's so many things and moving parts within a check-in, check-out intervention that can make it effective. And that's what we do at Behavior Advantage. We give them We give our customers the software to make this an efficient and easy to use intervention, and then the clinical support to troubleshoot over time, whether they're serving an individual student or a small group of students. There's my contact information. If anyone has any questions or wants to learn more about Behavior Advantage, we're always here to answer questions. Any questions before we conclude?
Can you discuss cost at all in
Yeah.
regards to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as the software goes, we have a model, a pricing model that we worked really hard to align with our perspectives on clinical support. So one thing we've learned over time is that we want to promote a multidisciplinary approach to solving behavior problems. We don't want to just saddle one clinical expert in a district with all this responsibility. So we have a subscription model that provides unlimited access to any user in your organization, unlimited students, and that's all for an annual subscription. Our minimum for small rural districts, for small districts under 1,500 students, is $2,500 a year. But again, that's for unlimited users and unlimited students. And then beyond that, it's 15% of your student ADA enrollment, $7 a student. And again, that would be for unlimited users, unlimited students, and tech support all week long. Then for online clinical support, we sell online clinical support packages in 15-hour increments for $2,400. And they never expire. You can use them for whatever you want. So if you said, you know, I have a group of paraprofessionals and I'd like them to be trained on check-in, check-out. Do you have a 2-hour training for that? We'd say, yep. And you can log on as many people as you wanted, and you can burn 2 hours for that paraprofessional training. If you were to say, you know, I have a team at our elementary school and they're struggling with a particular student, can they meet with you to help design a simple behavior plan? Because Behavior Advantage, in addition to check-in, check-out, you can design full-blown functional behavior assessments, behavior intervention plans, simple behavior intervention plans, behavioral emergency reporting, data collection tools. I mean, there's a lot that the program can do. But again, it really helps to have the clinical expertise in the room to say, well, what have you tried? And why do we think that's been ineffective? And what could we do differently moving forward? So you might say, I've got a team at the elementary school. Can they meet with you for an hour and troubleshoot? And be like, yep, let's schedule something next week or later this week, and we can do that. So that's how those hours are bought and used.
So part of what I do with our ESA is work with our alternative program.
Yep.
It's quite small. So when you're saying 1,500 students, I've got 10 of those.
Yeah.
That's it. But what I'm thinking in other terms of other things that we've done in our state, since the program that we work with is grant oriented, you know, we've purchased as a co-op across the state. And I don't know if you've done anything like that as well. Similar, that all of our safe schools is what they're called, could buy into that co-op at a certain price. I don't even know if we'd be talking 1,500 students. It might, maybe we've got a few that are bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the total number of students served. Is that something that's a doable process?
Yep, absolutely. We've been doing that with other ESAs across the country. We really have a large base of rural customers. And so that kind of a question, especially for ESAs that we've met through AESA, has been a common question. And you know, our attitude is, look, we want to help people solve behavior problems. So yeah, if you're talking about a limited number of students, we could easily do something like that.
Okay.
What
Thank you,
ESA are you with, Kathy?
Illinois.
Illinois?
Kathy, in Illinois, when we talk about things like FBA and check in, check out and behavior planning, is that, we find some states we're just speaking the same language and we're starting at a certain level, and other states are like, we're just starting to promote a behavioral methodology. Where would you say you are in all of that?
That's a good question. I think as safe school programs, I think we're all at a different level, probably based on our size. Our larger size safe school programs that have 200-300 students and 2 or 3 buildings and can house several teachers, I think are able to do more of the specialty behavior intervention plans. Whereas a place like mine, I've got a teacher and a parapro and then myself, that stops in as the administrator, and I can only do so much. I don't even have access to clinical therapists or social workers or anything like that. I mean, if a crisis comes up, I'm sure I could gather something from one of our local districts,
Sure.
but I'm kind of hit and miss. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, I may be one of the smaller ones, but still there are a lot of us who don't have access to those kinds of things. And that's why I wondered if I don't know if anybody in Illinois in our safe school programs are even using a program like this and how much interest there would be. I just know myself, I think it's worth it to have something that can track and to have something that's a little more scientifically based.
Exactly.
Do you have an idea how we might be able to engage with you to learn and understand how we could figure out the best way to come alongside and support everybody in the state?
That's a good question. I think what I need to do is just put a basic email out there. If you guys could send me some information as far as what this software, I mean, I've heard about it, but I'm not sure I can really put it in good terms to know here all the ins and outs to it that would be a plus, because I know what I heard that would be a plus for me, but I don't know what would be a plus for my coworkers 3 counties away, where they may read something and go, oh, that's what I need. So if there was something that you had that really showed these are the advantages to this, just to get some feedback across, I've got a couple mechanisms that I can get that and find out. And then if there's an interest, then I think maybe we can sit down with a discussion.
That would be terrific. We'd appreciate you doing that. So yeah, we'll definitely get you something.
So yeah, if you just email that to me, and then I can just see what kind of interest is out there. And I mean, some of them may have their own systems that they're not willing to break from. So.
And
Thank
Chris,
you
do you
very
have
much.
Kathy's email?
Pardon
Yeah,
me?
we can get to that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks, Chris, for setting this up.